I don't know if I have any unique feelings on Goodfellas, although I sometimes feel as though Scorsese's overall filmography has been overrated. We had every reason to champion the filmmaker responsible for Mean Streets, Taxi Driver, Raging Bull, The King of Comedy, and After Hours, and early in the 90s with Goodfellas, The Age of Innocence, and maybe the Cape Fear remake. The remainder of that decade generally disappointed. Casino feels like rote Scorsese bro flatness. Kundun emanates no spiritual depth, and all the hollow spectacle of 80s Oscar bait period piece extravagance. Bringing Out the Dead dully reanimated the Schrader end of Scorsese's celebrated narrative scaffolds, despite the presence of a generous Nick Cage performance. The 21st century has been a very mixed bag for this once visionary director, commencing with the overblown forced magnificence of Gangs of New York, which resembles a superficial Scorsese imitator, the actor man twiddle that was The Aviator, the television miniseries tier junk that was Shutter Island, the frat boy disgrace which was Wolf of Wall Street, whose scorn from certain critics at that time was not harsh enough, possibly, and what I presume is the time wasting predictability of The Irishman and Killers of the Flower Moon, two films I have about as much motivation to see as I might the new MCU or Disney Pixar Connect the Dots. Oh, I excluded The Departed, Hugo, and Silence. I actually do quite appreciate The Departed. It may be inferior to Infernal Affairs, which I saw some years later after first seeing The Departed, but I appreciate what it had to offer, distilling the Scorsese archetypes within a new, fun, exciting format, 21st century, Jack Nicholson, Boston, an emphasis on police officers beyond just the mob itself. I find it a very watchable feature to this day. Hugo is a delightful project. I'm full of praise for it. To me, that is a more ideal children's feature than most of what Disney or Pixar, or certainly the DreamWorks charlatans, are releasing in the current climates. Silence is a tremendous undertaking, again, inferior to a film which preceded it, one which also adapted the source novel, in this case, seminal Japanese author Masahiro Shinoda's Silence from 1971. Scorsese certainly has it in him to compose a powerful feature, but much of his output in this millennium has been generally subpar, I'd stubbornly argue. Looking back at it now, Goodfellas was plausibly the beginning of these films which would go back over decades in the post war 20th century, cycling through popular recordings, period changes, fashion shifting, as partial nostalgia for older viewers, and idealizing aestheticizing romances for those who never lived to see these eras. Films like Goodfellas ensured that the mafia activities of the 60s through to the 80s became a mimicked era of play as era of slash as play, just as the Prohibition and Depression era gangsters had been after they'd initially come and gone, and partially due to their depiction in Hollywood cinema. Whether it would be Boogie Nights, Dead Presidents, Forrest Gump, Donnie Brasco, American Gangster, Sleepers somewhat, even that nonsense movie Blow from 2001, which starred Johnny Depp, Goodfellas' influence it's sprawled across decades itself, as its own narrative had. Period movies with 20th century soundtracks, effectively jukebox, vacuous nostalgia. I wish I was alive in the 19 whatevers movies of late 20th century popular music soundtracks which weren't directed by Tarantino or some other pop postmodernist for the novelty's sake. Actually, in its own way, Raging Bull may have been the first to do so, albeit not entirely all of it post war. Schlesinger's The Falcon and the Snowman of 1985 might be an interesting example also, one that preceded Raging Bull.
Goodfellas.
That I am a great admirer of Goodfellas. It remains a highly watchable film, sickly entertaining and historically compelling. It inspired numerous imitators, including some from Scorsese himself, but none matched the tenacity, enjoyability, and sheer cinematic assertiveness of this 1990 well remembered, still venerated classic.